So I was on Instagram and I came across this crazy video.
This sample flip is gonna be generational.
And I could see it had a lot of potential for me to flip it into a sample. It's crazy. The first thing that I did is I split up the instruments and the vocals. So I used a website called lala.ai. I get much higher quality vocals through that rather than the typical like acapella extractors. So now I've got this. So I got rid of the melody and then I pitched up the vocal by 2. So it's now sounding like this. And now that I've got this, I want to create a piano pattern. So using this Noir Pure preset, Extra Body. So as you can see here, I've got the chord switch, which makes it a bit more interesting. It makes it less bland. I've got this sort of out of time kind of sounding thing here, which makes it just sound a bit more realistic. That piano on its own sounds quite boring and quite dull. So what I did is I did a technique called re-miking it, which is pretty much playing the pattern out loud with my monitors and then using a mic to capture what is happening in the room. So now I'm taking this piano from this to this. And this is one of my absolute favorite effects. It gives it that real Drake, vintage, roomy feel that you're not gonna be able to get using VSTs or plugin. And what I actually did is I had 2 separate takes. So I had one take pan to the left, as you can see here, and then one take pan to the right. I also had these pianos rooted to here. I have a noise gate because the mic picks up a lot of noise, so I've just got that limiting it. And then I also have an EQ just like this, not really doing too much. So now that I've chopped up the vocals, I've gotten rid of the parts I didn't like and kept the parts that I did like the most. I now have this. So it's already sounding a lot cleaner than the original video. Now what's important for these samples is you want to have variety with the vocals. You don't just want the vocals to be playing the same thing over and over because it gets a bit annoying. So what I did was I consolidated this previous pattern and I reversed it and I cut it up, keeping the parts that I like. So I now have this. So that adds a bit of variety. And then the same thing, but just pitched up. So you can hear this. And I reckon that one there sounds crazy. And you're gonna see later in the video how good it sounds in the final product. This one has a much more aggressive EQ as well, just putting it to the back. Finally, I have this repeating, but it's just with a more aggressive EQ, like this. And then finally, to finish off this starter, I reused some little ambience from previous loops that I've done. And this is actually a pretty good tip. If you guys come across cool ambiences or cool textures, don't be afraid to reuse them in other loops because chances are no one's gonna notice, no one's really gonna care. And if it's fire, if it makes the loop better, then why not use it? And then I've also got this one which fades in. It just keeps the sample a bit more interesting. So I sent this out as a starter to my starter list. If you guys also want to get added to this list, send me a DM on Instagram. It's a free list. I don't know how long I'm going to keep it free for, but pretty much the people who send me back the best collabs, I send out for placement. So my boy sent me back his collab on this, and now it sounds like this. There's some crazy accents in there sounding super clean. What I did was I chopped up different sections of what he sent back. And this was really when I was like, okay, this is a hard loop because it was kind of by accident. It catches you off guard. You'll see what I mean. Let me play it. So yeah, sounding crazy, and what I really like is you think that the vocal's gonna keep going, then it has this little high pitch bit. I reckon that sounds crazy. But yeah, that is pretty much how I flipped a video into a sample. If you guys want to see me making the final beat to this sample, you can also click on the video in the description, which was me cooking up beats in the studio. I'll also put a link in the description for a place where you guys can access this sample for yourself. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.